Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the channel. In this episode, I was speaking to Roberto Escobar, a nurse based in New York City who has battled long COVID and recovered. Welcome, Roberto.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
It's great to connect with you. I've been following a bit of your journey on YouTube, is how I came to across your channel. And I would love for you to share a bit about your story. Start us right at the top. Your health and fitness and your life prior to the pandemic and your COVID-19 infection.
Okay, so thank you for having me, Chris. So a little bit about my experience. New York City nurse. Before the pandemic, I was working at a hospital. The pandemic hit. Well, before we get there, let's talk about the fitness and health. I was lifting a lot of weight. I was able to run, lift weights without a problem. I wasn't running too much, but I was able to lift really heavy. I needed that strength for the hospital unit. And it's something that health and fitness was not something I ever took for granted. I used to do Ironmans. I did half Ironmans, half marathons several years ago. And so, I went to nursing school. That was my big thing. It was anybody who's gone to nursing school, especially in the States, it's extremely stressful. It feels like your whole life to complete the program. And so I did that. And, I got a job at a hospital, very stressful, 12.5-hour shifts, 3 times a week without overtime. And so my physical body, I was fine. I felt proud about my body. I felt good. I felt strong. And then I remember this is when the pandemic it was all about the pandemic. 2020, we heard things coming around the corner in 2019, December. We weren't sure. We saw that Italy got hit, Spain got hit, China got hit, but looks like they were trying not to tell the truth about how the patients were reacting to it. And by the time February, March rolls around, it's starting to hit New York City. The hospital I worked at was zoned for JFK International Airport. JFK is our biggest airport in New York City. So any patients coming through that terminal, if they had COVID symptoms, they would come to my hospital. And I remember my unit was the unit that was the first unit that was going to be turned into a COVID-19 unit. Now you can just imagine all the nurses, the doctors watching the news, we're all freaked out. There's no other word for it. We're all scared out of our minds. We see people dying left and right. We saw videos of Italy specifically. We saw videos of their ICU, and their ICU was really bad. And I forgot what the percent was, but almost everybody that was there was dying. And then usually if you're having some sort of respiratory infection, if it gets really severe, they will sedate you and put you on a vent, hoping that we can recover you and bring you back up later. But in Italy, what was happening is that the patients were passing away. And so you can imagine as a nurse, healthcare provider, you're like, what is going on here? Am I next? And we have our big boss. She came on the floor and she said, hey, everybody, you guys are going to be the first COVID nurse unit we have in our hospital. And all the nurses are looking left, looking right. We're looking at each other. And I remember she left the floor and we're there taking care of our normal patients. And I go to the some closet that we have where our lockers and stuff. It's like a really small room. And there's nurses crying there, nursing assistants crying. I can't believe this. Can't believe they're doing this to us. Can't believe this is going to come to our hospital. What we're going to do, And so that happened. Then before you know it, patients are filling up the rooms. We don't have enough masks for the staff members. I remember getting super angry and pissed off when the CDC on the news on TV said, hey, healthcare workers can wear bandanas because we're out of masks. I said, I can wear a bandana? And I was like, so I can get sick and take this to my family and then kill my family? And so there was a lot of anger, a lot of resentment around COVID-19. Finally, some months pass away, and COVID-19 was in our hospital. It was really bad. We had the trucks outside for the deceased, and it was just a very gruesome memory. And the patients, I remember seeing patients that, that I really resonate with. They were the Spanish patients specifically. I'm Spanish. So when I talk to a Spanish patient, I feel like, they're like my uncle, my aunt. And we don't have a lot of Spanish patients in our hospital. So this was new. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of Spanish people coming. I'm like, oh, don't worry, in Spanish, I'm talking to them. Don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. It's like that culture. And I remember these Spanish patients were just, specifically men mostly, were just passing away. And I have memories of like saying hi to them, and they were fully functional. And within minutes, I'd go back in their rooms and gone. And so that memory, I was like, man, I can't believe that this is happening. Finally, months go on of that trauma, of seeing that trauma, and things went under control. That's a good thing. Things lowered, COVID-19 numbers lowered. So we're like, okay, things are all right. Some staff members got COVID-19, they were fine. So people are less scared of it. This is when I was working on the unit, started feeling pain in my legs, and it felt cold. And I said, I don't know what this is. I go to lunch. So I go to my car. From my car, the parking lot, I go back to the hospital, and the pain gets worse on my legs. And I tell one of my nurses, I'm like, I'm in pain. I was like, I feel this cold pain. And all of a sudden, the chills started coming. And I tell her, I don't know what's going on. She right away gets a vital machine, tests my temperature, and says, hey, you have a 102.6. You need to get out of here now. She's like, I think you have COVID. And that moment changed everything. I said, no way. Finally, the disease that I was running away from got me. And it freaked me out. I call my wife, and I'm trying to hold tears back. And I'm like, hey, I think I got COVID. I need to go to a hotel. Can you pack a bag? And I'm very like robotic. I'm like, I got, as a nurse, there's times where there's emergencies. You got to just be robotic and just bottle up your emotions. So I said, no, I got to be robotic. I was like, babe, give me luggage. She's like, you okay? I was like, I'm okay. I'll be by there. And, I have to call my supervisor. I'm leaving the unit. I go pick up the luggage. I go to the hotel. And in the hotel, in the elevator, I just remember start tearing up. I'm alone in the hotel. Hotels at this time was very empty. So it's not like hotels, like there's not a lot of tourism going on. And I'm in the hotel and I just start tearing up and I'm holding it in. I feel the knot in the back of my throat, holding the chest tight. And I was like, Rob, I don't know how this is going to be. So what ended up happening was 11 days of full on fever, 11 days. Every 6 hours, my fever would go up to 101, 102, like it was clockwork. I would take Tylenol and Advil. It would work for 5 hours. I would endure the extra hour, retake maximum dosage for those two medications, Advil and Tylenol, and I would redo it. Again, 6 hours, redo it for 11 days. And because it was the only thing that kept me comfortable, because the fever was so severe. My skin, I have a picture of my skin. It's just, this is December. This is a tan. I'm dark. This goes away pretty quick. I turn pretty light. And I look in the mirror. I take a picture of my body in the mirror, and I'm just red, flushed. And I send it to my wife. I'm like, it looks like I've got sunburn. And ended up going to the hospital because at this point, it started affecting my lungs. I got lucky the first several days because the 11 days I was okay. On the 12th day, I checked my oxygen saturation starting to drop below 90. And I know as a nurse, I'm like, okay, this is a problem. I need to get oxygen from the hospital. So I go to the hospital and they look at my lungs and say, hey, you do have COVID. You have the pneumonia. You have, they called it, it was pneumonia, but it was viral. It's based on COVID, the COVID virus. And they're like, oh, we do see some infiltrates, which just means there's like liquid in your lungs. And, they're giving me they're giving me an inhaler. They're putting me on the nebulizer mask. And I'm just like, it's called bronchodilators. It's that steam you see that you're breathing in to help think so you can breathe easier. So I go to the hospital. I'm there for almost 2 weeks. I recover. I get into the ICU. I'm on a cardiac machine. my heart rate drops to 20s. And I'm just like, what is going on? And I'm seeing my own heart rate. And I just see the machine, it's just 20. They give me emergency medications to bring my heart rate back up. And I was like, my God, I can't wait to get out of here. I remember looking out the window thinking to myself, I can't wait to breathe cold, fresh air because the hospital was kind of warm. And I was just like, I was in that bed for 2 weeks. The air just feels old, you know, and we couldn't open the windows, they're locked. And I was like, man, I just can't wait to get out of here. I remember looking out that window, calling my wife, FaceTiming her. And during that time, to be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to make it. I kept getting negative news. And I knew the doctors, and I would tell the doctors, hey, doc, be honest with me. Don't sugarcoat it. Because I used to lie to patients. Patients would tell me, how am I doing? I say, sweetheart, you're doing great. Hold on. I was lying. I knew I was lying. I saw their vitals. I saw their oxygenation. I'm seeing them on this special CPAP machine, and they're barely hanging on. But I lied to try to give them hope. I lied because I'm not sure if they can regain their strength. And for most of those patients, they didn't. So now it's my turn. And I'm like, oh, I'm on the other side now. I'm on the machine. I'm on the oxygen. I'm the one getting worse. And so I talked to the doctors. I'm like, hey, doc, don't sugarcoat. And I remember I was working with certain doctors, but there were certain doctors that were like my favorites. And I remember giving them a text, giving them a call. I was like, come to my room. And they would come to my room and like, go look at the charts. I was like, you need to tell me the truth, what's going on. And so they would go look at the chart and they're like, they would try to be more positive. I'd be like, just tell me the truth. How does it look? Does it look like I can recover from this? They're like, you're gonna recover this. Don't worry, you're gonna, they're giving me positive news, but I could tell like it's not looking good. And I tell my wife, I do my prayers. I tell my wife, babe, just do what you gotta do. I don't know what's gonna happen. I was like, if I don't make it, I remember telling her, I don't want to be on a vent. I don't want to be on a ventilator. Whatever they do, when the doctors come, if I go unconscious, don't put me on a ventilator. Because I knew what happened with those patients. And somehow, some way, they gave me some different medications. They tried some experimental stuff. I started to recover. The infiltrations that I had in my lungs started going away. They wanted to keep me in the hospital longer. Being a nurse and I'm a pain in the butt, I was like, no, I don't want to be here long. I want to go home. And so I kind of pushed them, and I knew the social workers. I called the social, and I'm pulling strings. I'm like, get me out of here, get me a machine. They wanted me to go home with an oxygen machine. I was like, well, you guys got to get one. And I was able to push the doctors. I spoke with the nursing managers that I knew, and I was able to get out there a little early. Got home. I'm extremely weak. I lost maybe 15, 20 pounds, and it's very visible because I'm not eating, because I'm on the machines. I don't want to touch food. So I go home. I'm extremely weak. I could barely walk. That's the weird part. I could barely walk. I was in a wheelchair, and I was like, why can't I walk? It's only been 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to recover. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to come back to my unit and my work again as a bedside nurse. Go to the gym again. Do what I got to do. To be a nice little vacation. Get home and recover. Well, you know how the story goes. I didn't recover. If anything, I started to get different symptoms. I started to have brain fog. I couldn't think. Brain fog, I don't know if I'm intelligent, but whatever cognitive abilities that I do have, even if they're not a lot, I appreciate those cognitive abilities. I love that I can think things through. I love problem solving. So the first thing I noticed was that I couldn't problem solve anymore. I just couldn't think. I couldn't remember things anymore. Couldn't remember. I would say something to my wife, and then she would say, blah, blah, blah. She would respond. And I'm like, what are we talking about? And this would happen many times. This became normal. I couldn't walk around. Walking around the block became impossible. Like before, I would walk my dog around the block, just one block. In New York City, we have these square rectangular blocks. I could walk my block 3 minutes, 5 minutes. That's it. I couldn't walk around the block at all. And, we rented a wheelchair to be able to go outside because my mental health, I'm like, I'm home all day. My wife's like, "Oh, we're gonna get you a wheelchair. I'm gonna take you to the park. Don't worry." So I remember doing that, and I was just so weak physically. I started to get these weird symptoms where it felt like electrical shocks on my legs and in my hands, but it was so painful. I would just cry myself to sleep. It wouldn't that pain wouldn't go away. Like, I can't explain it. It was like this chronic pain, and it was painful. It wasn't painful enough for me to yell, but it was painful enough for me just to cry. Like, just cry, and it just hurt. It just I struggled so much to just sleep. Then I started having symptoms, what we know as POTS symptoms. I would stand up, my heart rate, I didn't know at the time. I wasn't monitoring my heart rate, but I would stand up, my heart rate would go through the roof. I'd get lightheaded, nausea, and so you couldn't get up. So for months, I later on learned about POTS. But for months, I just loved being on the floor with my legs up. And so I would just rest that way. I even had a gravity chair. It's made for like camping, but you put it on and you tilt back and your legs go up. And I'd always be on that chair. And I never knew why. I was like, I just feel better this way. My wife would ask me, I'm like, I just feel good this way. And I just remember I felt I could think a little clearly. And at the point, I didn't have the dizziness. I didn't have the nausea that would kick in and the lightheadedness. And not only that, I started to have extreme nightmares at night. I never had this. So I worked through the pandemic. I was fine. All of a sudden, I come home and I'm having nightmares and flashback of my patients that passed away. And I remember holding their hands. I remember everything very clearly. And just flashback. And I would just come out sweating and middle of the night, full on fight or flight, on top of all my other symptoms. And I'm telling my wife, this is bad. I need to go see a psychiatrist. I need something. I need medications to sedate me. I'm like, this is bad. I'm like, whatever. This is not normal. I've had anxiety in the past. I've had panic attacks in the past. But I was like, what this is, it's worse. Every night I would have at least 3 to 4 panic attacks of nightmares. And I would wake up drenched every time. So my wife would put like 4 or 5 shirts stacked on my night table. And so every night I would just get up, take my shirt off, put a new one on, try to go back to sleep, freak out again, wet. And I would just change it. And that was just my nightly routine. I couldn't go to sleep. My insomnia was so severe. And I just didn't know what was going on. Long COVID, I wasn't really looking up long COVID. I just thought I had PTSD. I need to learn how to, I just got to get stronger. I'll go to the gym maybe and lift some weights. I'll ride my bike. I had a stationary bike at home. I said, okay, I'll just ride it. And it was just not getting better. And I said, 6 months later, I was like, I should definitely be back at work. 6 months came, not better. 1 year. I was at 1 year. Okay, I should definitely be back. I went to work 2 days. I was falling apart both days. Had to quit my job. 6 figures, getting paid very well. The best health insurance, pension, everything. I was like, oh, I cannot believe I'm going to lose this job. Had to quit. Lost the job. Something I went to the college for, university for, and everything. Worked so hard for this. Had to let it go. Year and a half comes by. After that 1 year, after I lost that job, after I had to quit, I said, okay, I'm not getting any better. And this is where self-acceptance begins. And I think this is where pretty much everybody's journey of recovery starts. It was me realizing that I tried everything. By the 1 year mark, I bought all the equipment to monitor my oxygen saturation 24/7, monitor my heart rate 24/7. So I was looking at all my vitals. I was tracking my blood pressure. I was taking it at certain times of the day to see if there's like some sort of consistency. What is going on, right? So I'm trying to check on my vitals. There's nothing I could really put my finger on. They were so sporadic. Got blood work done. The inflammatory markers were through the roof. Otherwise, everything else was fine. I did brain scan with contrast. Neurologist said, you're good. He says, we're having a lot of patients coming in who had COVID and are showing up with symptoms like yours. They can't walk. They're unsteady gait. They're lightheaded. But I can't help you. Went to a cardiologist, ultrasound of the heart. Your heart's fine. I'm like, no damage? No damage. Blood work, one of the inflammatory markers high, but that's all right. You have a lot of inflammation. Everything else was normal. I'm like, what? I'm not normal. Maybe the results are coming back normal, but let me tell you, I am far from normal. I can't even work. I can't walk around the block. But that 1 year mark, I was able to do certain things. I was able to go grocery shopping some days. I remember some days I could go on a run, which is very rare. But the days I felt good, I would abuse it. So the days I felt good, I would wake up. I'm like, babe, going for a run. You know, you're gonna feel horrible the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, I don't care. I can run one day out of the month. It felt good. I was like, man, this is amazing. But I would be bedridden for the rest, for the, 2 3 weeks. I didn't understand why. I didn't understand the mechanism. I was like, this is just life. At this point, I said, Rob, if if this is where self-acceptance, which what I was saying before, what happens if you can't recover? And I was like, okay, well, and I guess it's been a year, so I guess I can't. And I was miserable to be around. Miserable. I was so negative. I remember bringing my wife down. She's like, "Oh, you're always so negative." I'm like, "What do you expect me to be? You want me to be positive? I can't work as a man. I can't provide for my family. I feel useless. I'm home all day on my couch. How do you expect me to be? What do you think? What should my attitude be? Grateful? I'm not grateful for this life. Look at what it's given me." That was my attitude. And I realized that my wife was just burdening her. I was burdening her. And I said, "Okay, Rob, you're a pain in the butt to be around. You have two choices, buddy. You have the choice. You're not going to be recovered. You're going to have symptoms. You're either going to have symptoms and be miserable, or you're going to be have symptoms and be happy." Now, okay, that sounds very easy when I say it. That process took weeks, and it was not easy for me to come to the conclusion that, okay, you know what? I'm going to wake up every day. I'm going to smile. I'm going to hug my wife. I'm going to tell her I love her. And you know what, Rob? You have to give up on this idea that you're somehow going to be the provider. You can't be. You're not. You have no control over this. And I remember having this guilt because I'm the uh, I'm the provider financially for the house. So uh, I remember I just said, okay, if we end up homeless, then so be it. I was like, Rob, you've tried everything. You've tried to outwork this. You tried to outrest this. You tried to out meditate this. You tried to out supplement this. You tried out technology this. Nothing's helped you. Just give up. Don't give up on your life, but give up fighting for something you can't get. And that's where self-acceptance started. I just told myself, Rob, I'm going to be happy despite being on a couch. Genuinely happy. And no one can take that away from me. And that was the first thing I did. I changed my attitude. I said, Rob, I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to make sure that my wife comes around me, even though I'm broke, make no money, and not useful to society standards or even my standard back in those days. I didn't feel worthy. I said, you know what? I'm just going to be happy and smile. I'm going to be grateful that, you know what? I'm alive. And if this disease kills me one day, it is what it is, but I'm going to be, whatever time my wife has with me, I'm going to smile and be happy. And that was part of self-acceptance. That was the beginning stages of me learning how to heal.
Rob, I wanted to thanks so much for sharing. That's an incredible story. Sure. I think I haven't really spoken to someone in the health field that's been right there, like on the front lines, beginning of the pandemic. It's really incredible to hear that part of the story. I wanted to just for the listeners and the viewers to understand the timeline better. Can you take me through the dates of your first infection to then when you knew that, okay, something's wrong, I'm getting these different symptoms? And then when did you know it was officially long COVID as a term, I guess? Yeah, that kind of timeline.
So when I got sick was December 20 something. I don't know exactly. It's on my calendar somewhere. So it's like 25th, I think it was when I got my first day of infection. Then
But
I
this is
had
2021.
2020.
2020. Oh my word. So that's like literally as the pandemic started.
So the pandemic started in
Wow.
March, and then things settled down around the fall. So I thought I was out of the woodwork. I was like, okay, we had 6, 7, whatever
Mm.
months it was. We're okay. That's when I got sick. That December of that year.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Wow. And your post, I guess your long-term symptoms, when did you start experiencing the pains and the nerve endings and all of those things, the POTS and things? And
Probably right away, but I didn't know.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. The pain came a little later, like that, but the POTS was right away. I didn't know it was
Mm,
POTS, so I was like, "Damn, I just feel off. I
mm,
can't think," and I would always be reclined, and I didn't know
yeah.
POTS existed. And then later, when I learned about chronic fatigue syndrome, long COVID, POTS, I was like, "Oh, that's
Mm,
what I've been suffering."
mm. Wow. That's crazy. I'm Rob, I'm guessing the vaccinations didn't exist at that time, end of 2020, right?
So I think they came out the end of 2020. I was supposed to get it 1 week after. So I got sick the week after I was scheduled to get it.
Mm,
So I think it was the first week of January I was supposed to get my vaccination because it goes by last name order,
mm,
and that's when I was supposed to get it. I ended up getting 3 vaccinations because I heard some people cured themselves from long COVID with the vaccinations. So after
mm,
I maybe 6 months, I think it was 6 months later, I was a little suspicious of the vaccines. I wasn't sure how solid they were. I didn't want to take it, but um, I was a nurse, and I my plan was I'm gonna go back to work.
mm,
So I was like, I need it for work anyways. So I did take one vaccine. I think it was exactly June 26th. I think it was June 26th and June
mm,
27 of 2021.
mm.
And then I got another one in September, thinking because I kept reading these Reddit stories of people being able to heal from it. So I was like, you know what? Let me get another one, and it didn't do anything.
Mm. Wow. I actually it's interesting to hear that. So you were sick for 6 months with long COVID before you touched a vaccine.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. I also, I guess, had that thought train of, okay, maybe the booster or one of the boosters that I haven't taken, because I've only done 2 Pfizers, I'm thinking, oh, maybe that'll help. But as far as I've seen, like, I'm kind of regretting taking 2 Pfizers, to be honest with you. I just don't like, I don't like the fact that they might have done something or like as an injury or side effect to me, because if the spike protein is causing these microclots that are existing and causing vascular damage, I'm sure you've seen the research papers on those. I've got the microclots. I've done the test here in Stellenbosch where I live, and it's been very discouraging because I think the spike can come from the COVID virus itself. Obviously, it's good that the microclots can develop from that as well as the vaccination, and I don't know how much damage is from what. So my infection is 4 months post my 2 Pfizers, basically. But yeah, it's interesting how it's like we want to trust the science of the vaccines, but I totally get your hesitancy, but also the hope that okay, maybe this will fix it. Yeah. Okay,
Absolutely.
so yeah, so we've covered your introduction. Thank you so much for sharing that. So you're nursing and you've got COVID now. You've been battling 6 months. You get 2 shots, and then 6 months later you get another vaccination or booster, I guess. What brand would that be?
Pfizer.
Pfizer, yeah. And then you said that hasn't changed your symptoms or made a difference. Gotten worse or better, correct?
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, sure. From that point, what was your journey to figure out this term long COVID? When did you come across that?
So I think by the year mark, I already was seeing the word. I was going on YouTube and seeing people, and you're looking up everything in the world of what it can be. And people on YouTube are saying it's this, it's that, and we're not sure. It was still kind of early. And I just, I heard I think the first word we used around here was long haulers. I kept seeing that, long haulers. And I was like, oh, there was these long hauler symptoms. We had a hospital here, long hauler symptoms. There was a hospital in New York City, Mount Sinai. They have a long haulers, long COVID. I think they call it COVID now, long COVID clinic. And I said, okay. I was like, okay, this is weird, this long COVID. So I guess we have it, these weird symptoms. And I said, okay. When I really started like changing things was when I looked up, I think I saw, Raylan Hagel's channel.
Raylan, I have come across. Yeah, she interviews people who've recovered. I believe.
Yeah. So I've seen her stuff, and I said, okay, well, these people, I'm like, oh, you know what? They must be trying to sell some sort of supplement. I'm like, I don't believe what these people that have been recovered. And I honestly, I was just so skeptical. I was like, she's got, when I did an interview with her, and I said, I told her like behind the scenes, I was like, I really thought you were full of crap the first time I did the interview. I was like, because how is it that all these people are recovering? These symptoms are severe. Like if you have long COVID, your symptoms are severe. So to think that you can recover from this, from breathing, yoga, meditation, no way possible. So I remember I'm like, no, she's selling this with some sort of pill. And that's when I started learning about chronic fatigue syndrome, POTS, Lyme disease, mold intolerance, whatever. They have these different names, dysautonomia. And I said, okay. All right. I was like, okay, this is okay. I kind of understand. I'm like, oh, these are new. Okay, I'm understanding the picture more. There was a video that changed everything. And it was a video by, I don't know his channel now. He had a different name channel. It's not named that, so I don't want to say it. So he was talking about long COVID the whole time. And he had somebody on who's a therapist and said, hey, yeah, people that have type A personalities and have trauma and get sick or something, like those mix, somehow break your nervous system and cause you to have long COVID. And I said, whoa. I'm type A. I got PTSD. So that trauma can't be more trauma than that. And I got sick. And I said, okay. She spoke about the polyvagal theory. First time I hear about it, first time I hear anything about the nervous system being involved in being sick. So she talks about polyvagal theory, talks about Stephen Porges, kind of like the founder of this theory. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to look this up. I doubled down. I was like, I got to go to YouTube Med School, right? That's what I say. YouTube Med School, where you go and you're researching everything about polyvagal theory. And that's when I started learning.
Just to clarify, that's not an official channel, correct?
No.
That's like it's like you Google your symptoms and you think, oh, I'm gonna die in like 2 hours. I've got this disease, and we're like, no, Dad, no, you just got the cold or something. Don't worry. Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
it.
carry on.
No, that's it. And I was like, I went all in on YouTube, trying to figure out what it was, and I, learned about polyvagal theory. Sounded interesting for me. It made sense. I tried a Gupta program, brain retraining. It didn't work for me. I've tried another program, DNRS, which are similar to Gupta. Didn't work for me. I actually didn't like the style. And I think I tried another program. Didn't really work for me. And so I was like trying to figure out like what, I'm doing the programs some of these people recommend. I'm meditating. Why isn't it? I'm falling asleep every time I meditate because my fatigue is so severe. And I was just like, I don't know. The polyvagal theory, when I heard it, just made sense to me. I saw the ladder. There's a picture of it you can find online of a ladder and polyvagal ladder. So then that's when I started looking into polyvagal theory. And then when I took that, so everything I researched into healing, I did 100%, 1,000%. So for example, if there was an article and it said, hey, you're missing NAD+, that's what's causing your mitochondrial deficit. Okay, so you know what I did? Amazon, I bought NAD+, the most expensive one, to my house. Okay, we recommend you to monitor your vitals. No problem. I bought the most expensive heart rate monitor, 24/7 monitor that I can buy. whatever I did that I fucking heal me, I always delved in 100%, always, because to me, it was like my way of finding out if something's really there. It's like taking a gun and shooting at a wall. And you're like, is there a prize there? You know, like you're trying to shoot like a piñata. You're hitting the balloon, the piñata, and you're like, is there candy in there? And a lot of people don't want to hit it because they're afraid that nothing will come out. So they just give up. And I didn't want to do that. I said, I'm just going to hit everything. And if it fails, it fails. And I'll move on to the next one. But at least I know that failed. It's not me, but that failed. So everything I did, supplementation, I'm just trying to figure out that can cure me. Different supplements, teas, herbal remedies, meditation. You name, there's so many stuff that you try out.
Yeah. Sorry, not Pablo. Rob, Pablo's our cat. I'm so sorry.
You know, there's a famous drug dealer called Pablo Escobar.
That's probably why my brain is not thinking clearly. I apologize.
Don't apologize. No need. Don't worry about it.
Rob, I was going to ask, so for the listeners who don't know what NAD is, I don't even know what that is. I've heard of the NAC, the cysteine supplement enzyme, but what is the NAD plus?
So I think there's two. I think there's NAC and there's NAD. NAD, or I could be getting this wrong. I don't know if maybe that's the name of that's the catch name. So there is different
like
supplements.
The brand name, yeah.
Maybe like the name, the cool name they give it.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe it's that, and it's a mix of different ones. I've tried different supplements. None of them prevailed. I tried the booster. Nothing worked there either. So I was just giving 100%, trying to figure out. So the Poly-vagal was just the next one on my list. So I was like, okay, Poly-vagal. And I doubled down, tripled down, 1,000%. All my energy went into that. And it started working. I remember I did breathing, really deep breathing exercises. I was doing a lot of meditation. That wasn't really working. So I did the breathing. And according to the Poly-vagal theory, I was like, okay, if you do slow breathing, there's a method of doing it. If I do it, it's got to work. So I remember doing it I started, and within 3 days, on the third day, I was doing it 3 times a day. On the third day, my brain fog disappeared. For the year and 8 months that I had long COVID, my brain fog, no matter what time of day, no matter what I was doing, never disappeared. So for me to do this for 3 days and for it to disappear, again, there's sometimes I took supplements and I thought I felt better. But within 2 to 3 days, you're like, oh no, they're still there. Yeah, I feel it. You never felt a miracle better, but you're like, oh yeah, I think I feel a little better. I believe that to be placebo in my case. And so then I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work. This is the first time that I'm like, I was very skeptical. I was like, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe this, I've tried many things. This might not work. And so I'm doing it. And 3 days in, I felt that brain fog. It probably left for maybe 30 seconds, a minute. And that was it. That's all I needed. That validated everything for me. I said, okay, this is it. This is the nervous system. So for me, it kind of confirmed, and I just did it. I just went all in. And that's how people are like, oh, you recovered quick. I did 2 months of this, and I recovered in 2 months. There's a lot of backstory behind that. It's really not 2 months, but on paper, it looks like it's 2 months because I start Poly-vagal, and within 2 months of Poly-vagal, I'm back at work, full-time work. I couldn't believe it. And I remember crying, telling my wife, oh my God, I can't believe 2 months ago I was bedridden. And here I am. I got a less stressful job. I had to make lifestyle changes, but I was able to make money. I was able to go to work and bring a check home. And, because we're financially, all our credit cards were maxed out. We were really living month to month, barely figuring out. But this time, I got my money. And I was like, oh my God, I felt good. I was like, I got to work. I worked a job that I enjoyed a lot more. And I was like, wow, I can't believe this. And that was sort of the beginning of my recovery journey.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm so excited to hear about this. I don't know much about the polyvagal theory, but for listeners who don't know about it, I believe it's a nerve that runs throughout your body, right? From your brainstem down your spine. Is that correct? If you could
Yeah.
explain a little bit more about it, yeah, what this
So
theory is and why it works, yeah.
yeah. So so the polyvagal theory is a theory based on your nervous system. Your nervous system it's all your autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic
Mm,
nervous system is what controls your functions of your body, like your heart rate. You don't tell your heart rate to beat, but it beats on its own. Your bladder, your kidneys. You don't have to say, "Hey, I have to please filter out my blood. I need to create urine and I need to use the bathroom." No, it just does it automatically. Your thinking process and subconscious thinking process, it's all part of your autonomic nervous system. So your nerve, it's a little more complicated. Like the actual location is like your spine and the brain stem, but it's more complicated because that nervous system works with the brain. So it's not just simple as your nervous system, it's also the brain. So that's why I'll give you an example. If someone never scared you, maybe someone did this to you, right? They go like that. You would flinch without thinking. You don't think about it. You don't tell your brain, hey, this guy is moving really quick. I need to move back. No, without thinking, your body does this, pulls back. Why? Your nervous system. Without thinking,
mm,
your nervous system just kicks into gear. Sometimes if, even anxiety, anxiety is explained through a lot of this. If you get anxious, maybe you're at work, something happens. Maybe
mm,
you're not really involved, but something around you happens, you get a little nervous, you get a little anxious.
mm,
You think to yourself, why am I anxious? I'm not in danger. But maybe your body feels that anxiety. You feel it in your chest, you feel
mm,
it in your body, maybe even your legs start shaking a little. When you start talking to yourself, you say, why am I shaking? Why do I feel this? Logically, it makes no sense. But your nervous system is the one taking over. For whatever reason, that nervous system doesn't feel safe. And it will create the emotion of anxiety to prep you, to say, hey, this is something we're either going to have to fight or run away from. So
yeah.
that's the understanding of this is the understanding of the nervous system. And the general
Mm,
understanding was there's two sides of it: rest and digest, fight or flight. If you go to textbooks, hey, yeah, your nervous system, rest and digest, you're relaxed, you're happy. Or if you're fight or flight. Now, polyvagal theory says, hey, we have three nerves here. There's three parts of this vagal nerve. And in reality, there's rest and digest, happy, feeling safe. There's fight or flight, gotta run, hypermobility, more energy, more energy.
mm-hmm,
And then there's a third one. And I think he calls it the freeze phase. And so, or the shutdown phase. This is when they see these in lizards. Certain animals have this, where if you take a lizard and you chase it, it'll run away from you. But if it thinks that it cannot outrun you, it will play dead. And it'll just lay on the
mm,
ground, and you could grab the lizard by the tail, and they'll just play dead. And they say it's a protective mechanism of understanding your nervous system says, hey, you're not going to live. To make this transition smooth, we're just going to play dead. We're going to shut you down. Or we're going to start shutting down certain systems of you so that you don't feel this pain. That's the idea. And that's why, like, if you have chronic stress, it would explain, the polyvagal theory explains, if you have chronic stress, there's where the fatigue comes in. That's where the depression comes in. That's where the dissociation comes in. Because what your nervous system is trying to do is trying to dissociate you. It's trying to depress you. It's trying to mellow you out to get you ready because it believes there's no recovery from this. You're going to die from this, so we're going to make it as painless as possible. And so that is what
mm,
the polyvagal theory means. That's what it's
mm.
these three phases of your nervous system.
Yeah, sure. I'll be honest. I'm probably in a similar boat to you. When you first heard of it, I feel skeptical of that. I've done CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, through a psychologist like years ago for mental health reasons, like more anxiety and some depression. Very helpful. So in that sense, I understand that the way the brain works and your nervous system is it's such a fragile system, I think, actually. The way that your adrenal glands, like you say, they can produce the adrenaline, you can go into this fight or flight mode, and you're like, why? I'm at the shops, like there's nothing wrong. And maybe it's a chemical imbalance or your gut health is off, things like that. So more and more, I'm basically similar to you, like I'm willing to try everything short of, doing like hard drugs. I will try whatever, do whatever it takes. So, in terms of practicality, talk to me and the listeners, just about what does this look like? Besides, I guess there's the breathing techniques. Are there anything else that goes along with it? Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna. Woo! Chris, I hope you're ready, Chris. All right, so for the listeners, for the viewers, I'm gonna speak to you guys. I'm speaking to Chris, but I'm gonna speak to the viewers here. So please pay attention. So it's not that simple. So this ends up happening. A lot of people go into polyvagal theory and they say they do the exercises. So before I even get to the practicality, they do the exercises and they say, hey, this doesn't work. Okay, there's a few things to that. So remember I told you I healed within 2 months from doing the polyvagal exercises? Okay, great. So what I did before was self-acceptance, self-love, childhood trauma, mindset. Those works I already did because I accepted I will never, for the rest of my life, I will never get better. So with that understanding, I said, Rob, I will never get better. So I need to let go of the expectation that there is somehow hope that I can get better. So now it's just a matter of deciding, will I be happy for the rest of my life, despite me never getting better and being on a couch? Or will I be miserable and be on a couch for the rest of my life? That is a big framework shift. Because what ends up happening, people say, this doesn't work. This doesn't get better. Oh my God, I need to get better. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try that out. Oh my God, I tried this supplement out. It didn't work. I tried carnivore diet. I tried vegan diet. I tried eating soil from the ground that was blessed by God himself. You're trying everything in the world, right? And you're like, nothing works. But I didn't have that stress on me anymore. That process itself is so stressful. So I just gave up. I just said, okay, I'm just going to be happy. I'm going to be grateful for that I'm alive. That process is really hard because I wasn't grateful to be alive. I didn't want to live. So to think that I had symptoms and all of a sudden, I'm just going to be grateful to be alive. No, I wanted to be the provider of my family. I wanted to go on vacations with my family. I wanted to be outgoing and be athletic and be able to do an Ironman in my future, do a marathon again. I wanted to go to the gym and lift weights. To think I had to accept that I will never do those things. Imagine the mindset, the shift that had to occur. So that process itself sounds very simple on paper, sounds quick. It was months of crying. It was months that it took to let go. It was months of suffering. But I saw my wife and I saw the burden it caused her. And I said, you know what? I can't be miserable. I can't. This is not good for her. She's done so much for me. She's my caretaker. She couldn't work for months to take care of me, to put me on a wheelchair and be able to wheel me around, to help me shower. I'm sitting on the floor like I'm a toddler. And she's the one shampooing my hair and cleaning my body with a rag. And I said, you know what? After a year and something of being miserable, I said, you know what? I'm done with this. And so I just want to say, the polyvagal exercise and all that, before we even get to that, it begins with self-acceptance. And that's hard because people say, Rob, how can I give up? Then it means that I give up. And it's not true. Giving up just means you're letting go of these expectations you put on yourself. It's these expectations that you allow society to put on you. Can you let go of that? Why do you have to go to the gym and work out? Oh, because it's good. It's good for my body. But what's the real reason? Oh, I want to lose some weight. Why are you worried about the way you look? Oh, I'm not. I just, I don't want to look big in my scrub. I don't want to, I don't care what people think. I just don't, I want to be in shape. We have all these programming from when we were kids, the way we were raised. So before we even get to polyvagal theory, and polyvagal exercises are the last piece to the puzzle. The first piece, and I have a outline here, but the first piece, you have to accept where you are. When I tell this to people and they're really having a hard time, I'm sorry, viewers and listeners, you will have to hit rock bottom. I had to hit rock bottom. If you told me this before I lost my job, that 1 year mark when I was able to go back and try to see if I could go back before they terminate me, I would have not listened to you. I would have not listened to me. I would have said, I got to go back to work and I got to figure it out. It was because I lost my job and I felt like I lost everything and I hit really rock bottom. That's when I started accepting things and saying, okay, you know what? No amount of will is getting me out of this situation. We're back in the days because most of us are type A personalities, and we say, we can outwork this, we can outpush this, we can outwill this. Back in the days, you gained a little weight, I will go to the gym, you lose the weight. If you were a little tight on cash, you would work a little overtime, and now you have cash. You would always outwork yourself. If you got a bad grade, well, I will make sure I get an A on the next one. That tool doesn't work anymore when you have long COVID. The more you push, the sicker you get. The more you push to try to get better, the more you stress that nervous system, the deeper into freeze or shutdown phase you go. And so I just want to say, like, yes, polyvagal exercises, they worked for me, but it was the last puzzle. I had to do that changing, that shifting of my mindset. I had to decide to be positive despite the negative that was going on. I had to look at my childhood trauma, look at the beliefs I was living by. I was living by certain beliefs that were toxic to me, absolutely toxic. So I had to stop being a people pleaser. I had to stop measuring my self-worth based on my achievements, on my money, on my material possessions. I had to change my self-talk. I was beating myself up verbally inside my head. Rob, what are you doing? Get up. Why are you so lazy? Why can't you get out of the couch? Why can't you do that? Why can't you do that? Listening, I said, no, I will not allow myself to talk to myself this way. I won't allow this. So I had to learn how to figure out how to change my self-talk. And at the end of the day, this is what I believe. And this could sound a little controversial. This is what I truly believe. I think about this. I work with certain people now, and I really think about what's the cause of long COVID. It sounds very complicated and has to do with stressors and all this, but I really believe, and I could be wrong, I believe it's because we are programmed, our minds have a program of self-hatred. I think that's how we get long COVID. Now, that sounds very crazy and it sounds out of this world. When you have a life of self-hatred, you are always stressed. When you live a life that is not with an integrity of yourself and your values, of what's in your heart, you're constantly stressed and you will get sick. There's a book by an author called Gabor Mate, and he has a book. I forgot the name of it. I think it says, and I know there's a quote. It says, when the mind can't say no, the body will. And it's pretty much the idea that when you're living someone else's life, a life that you don't even want, your body will get you sick to prevent you from going down that path. And it sounds crazy. It sounds controversial. But the more I think about it, the more I really is the way we are raised by our parents, by society, by the culture we're in. We are programmed. This program called self-hatred. This program called you're never enough. You're not worthy until you have X amount of money. You're not worthy until you get married. You're not worthy until you have this. You're never enough. You go on social media, you're never enough. And so your parents, they want you to go to school and be a doctor and do this. You're never enough. You become a doctor. You're never enough. Your family members, your friends, we're all under this programming. So that's what I personally believe in. The way to dismantle this programming and to really release all the stress off of your nervous system is self-love. When when you feel like you're enough, when you feel like you're worthy, when you're not worried about pleasing people around you, and you are good at creating boundaries. I had to learn that. And you just love you, and you don't need to do things to feel worthy. You don't need to suffer anymore. Like before, if I didn't suffer at work, I felt like it wasn't good work. And there's beliefs behind that reason. And now my job is really easy. Before I would have hated this job because I was seeking, constantly looking for suffering to redeem that self-worth. And now I have an easy job and I love it. I love not having stress. I love feeling good at work and I could be on YouTube and do whatever I want. I love not being worried about being productive anymore. And I'm really just happy. And so that self-love people underestimate. That self-love, I believe, is the centerpiece of your healing. That centerpiece takes a lot of work, but it's worth the work. And then once you do that work of learning what self-love truly is, speaking to yourself in front of a mirror and saying, hey, Rob, I love you. You've never said that to yourself. Your parents never said that to you like that. I love you unconditionally. I love you just because. I love you because you're alive. You don't need to do something special or be cool for me to love you, Rob. I love you just the way you are. You're overweight. I love you being overweight. I love the way you look. I love your eyes, Rob. When I was looking in the mirror and doing that self-love work, I was like, man, my nervous system will spike up more because I was like, oh man, this feels weird. Like, oh my God, I don't know what this is. Once I did that self-love work and self-acceptance of myself, I had peace. I was no longer worried about what my parents were thinking. I was no worried about what my colleagues at work were thinking. Oh man, look, he gave up that hospital job. He's leaving that. He's going down the ladder. He should be going up, climbing the corporate ladder. No, I didn't care what you think. I could care less what you think. You know who I care about? What they think? Me. Am I at peace? Am I happy with myself? And again, that happiness, usually our happiness is programmed from our parents and society and culture. Well, you got to do this to be happy. You got to do that to be happy. I deleted that program. Delete. I put a new program, self-love program. In this program, I don't need to do anything to love myself. I just got to love myself. I just got to be joyful. I could do things that bring me joy instead of seeking things to destroy myself, either through running or through working out. And oh, I got to be better. And that really is behind that. The belief behind that programming is fear. And now I'm like, oh no, self-love. I don't care. I don't care if I'm overweight. I don't care if I have big biceps. I don't care if I can outrun you. I don't care. You know what I care about? I don't care about doing things that bring me joy. Yeah. So I tried rock climbing. And I was like, man, rock climbing brought me joy. I've never done this before. Well, it was so fun. I'm not competing against anybody. Once I did that self-love work, yes. Once you do that work and you feel at peace and your nervous system is calm and feels safe, now the polyvagal exercises come in and what they pretty much do is they're muscling your physiology and bringing your nervous system back into the normal phase or in the rest and digest phase, happy phase, safety phase. And that's where the longer you're in that phase, slowly your symptoms start going away. At least that's my experience. That's my experience. And for the people that I've worked with, and then slowly you start seeing symptoms going away. But again, that is the last puzzle. So if you do polyvagal exercises, but inside here, you're beating yourself up. I got to go back to work. No, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to be homeless. No, I got to push. Oh, but I'm going to do the breathing. Rob, it's not working. I got to get back to work. Oh my God, oh my God, I've got to lose weight. Look at all this weight I gained during long COVID. But Rob says I got to do the laughing yoga. You got to lose weight, Rob. So that the polyvagal exercise won't work if your mind is not at peace. And so that's why I say, yes, polyvagal exercises are crucial. Without it, you could do all the self-love you want, be on your couch all day, you won't get better from rest. We know that. We see people that rest and sleep all day, they don't get better. It's getting that self-love, truly self-love, being self-loving to yourself, self-compassionate to yourself. And once you learn that, now it's applying the polyvagal exercises. And what you're doing is with your physiology, you're convincing your nervous system, hey, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe.
Mm. Rob, talk me through, okay, so just to summarize, what I've heard you say is that you've gone through this process of trauma, hitting rock bottom. You come to a point of accepting that this is where you're at. You don't have to fight to get better and to fight to fix things. You've just accepted where you are. That's okay. You find self-love. You've gone to that point now next, after accepting where you are, the acceptance, self-love, getting rid of the traumas and the people pleasing, all those kind of things that I think we can all relate to a lot. And now what are these practical, I guess, the physical aspects of the breathing and those last little bits of that puzzle?
Okay, so your polyvagal exercises, number one's your breathing. Because if you have a panic attack, how's your breathing? Your physiology. So your nervous system speaks to your physiology. You can speak back to your nervous system, not through your words, but through your physiology. So that breathing, that inhale, purse lips, exhale, the exhale has to be the longest. If you can do that, you're communicating to your nervous system, hey, I'm safe. There's no need to run away. You're safe. So breathing is number one, laughing yoga, number two. Everything else that I'm going to tell you, I don't know the order. But number one and number two, no matter what, no matter who you are, if you're a human being, breathing and laughing yoga are the strongest exercises to convince your nervous system that you're in safety. And I'm telling you, I work with people that they go weeks talking to me. They don't want to do it. They say, laughing yoga, I'm going to laugh to myself. That's, it's a little awkward. Please do it. Please do it. Please do it. Please do it. Finally, they do it. And it's funny. It's weird. It's weird to just laugh to yourself. And so when they do it, they're like, Rob, it's working. And I'm like, that's what it's about. And so those two exercises are probably the two most powerful ones.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have other ones like yoga. You have somatic meditation, happy music. So there's this, they say the founder of Poly-vagal theory, he says that Disney music is a great example of that. It's called, it's a type of music. It's the music where there's music in the background. It's very nice, but there's also a voice. And the idea is that when we're babies, our mind attunes to our mother's voice or our caregiver's voice. Our mothers will do a humming sound and they'll sing a voice. So Disney music has been shown to make, you have to remember, Disney's a multi-billion-dollar company. It spends a lot of money on creating music that will make kids feel joy or happiness. So the founder speaks about that. So I would listen to a lot of Disney music. So instead of listening to my hardcore rock or techno music, which I love, I listen to Disney music now. Yeah, because that gets you going, right? That gets your nervous system going.
Yeah.
So I would listen to Disney music. I would do karaoke, singing. I would sing Christian music. I'm Christian, so I would do Christian music. I would sing, there was music, Spanish music I would sing when I was younger that reminds me of happy times. And so I would sing those music as well. And I wouldn't overdo it, but I would just sing it and just felt good. And they say the vibration of your voice will kind of vibrates your vagal nerve and it's supposed to help you calm you down. I was like, how much vibration is it really getting? I don't know. But I felt happy. I felt joyful while doing it. Yoga, I said yoga, smiling. You're signaling to your nervous system, I'm safe. When you get scared, you don't do this. When you get scared, you do this. Flat affect. So instead, I started to smile. I just started doing this. I look psychotic on the couch, watching TV. My wife would drive, and she's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "I'm smiling. I'm reminding my nervous system I'm safe." And so I would just do the smile, and it sounds crazy.
Man. That's funny.
I would do
Uh-huh.
social dates. That's another big one. So once every other week or once a month, I would set up dates with friends that I felt very close with, which was only a handful. But I would set up dates because, according to the theory, when you're socializing with people you feel really safe and close with, it puts you on, your nervous system turns on the social side of it. So I said, okay, well, if it's true and there's something that a lot of people will notice. When I had long COVID, I noticed when I would spend time with my friends, my symptoms were gone. And then when I would come home, my symptoms would come back. And I never understood that why. I knew it, but I didn't know why. Then when I heard polyvagal theory, I was like, oh, that explains that. So what I would do is on the calendar, I would text my friends, hey, you're coming on this date to my house. I wouldn't leave the house because it would give me a lot of anxiety because of my symptoms, and I didn't want to like fall on the floor. So I'm like, you're coming to my house and we're gonna hang out. And it'll be like one or two people the most. And we would make those dates. And they would come and I would laugh. And then they would leave and I'd be tired. And I would tell my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. Tomorrow I may pay the price a little, but you know what? I'm so happy that I felt so happy this 1, 2, 3 hours my friends were here. And I just told myself, like, wow, I put my nervous system in safety. I felt good. I was like, man, that's like an exercise. That was so good for me. And those were pretty much the exercise. I stopped doing things I hated. So there's a part of mind-body syndrome, which is another side of psychosomatics. So like mind-body syndrome, they tell you there's an inner child and you don't want to do things you hate. So taking the learnings from there, I said, okay, my wife was, I would help her with chores and stuff, little things, but I hated it. So I would tell my wife, no more. And she knew why. She knew it was because I was healing, not because I was trying to be mean. And she said, okay, that's a big part of it. Not doing things you hate just because you feel like you are responsible or, oh, I have to be the responsible adult. I was very clean. Type A, everything has to be organized. I stopped caring about that. I didn't care. If I didn't want to do something, I wouldn't do it. I was like, hey, you want to go shopping with me to the supermarket? No, I don't. Okay, sounds good. Hey, you want to help me with? No, I don't. And it sounds crazy, but you have to be almost like it feels like you're being selfish. But once I understood the mind body syndrome approach of it, and I said, okay, I really can't do that, things that I hate, because if not, it aggravates. There's a part of you that gets angry. Well, I believe it's your nervous system getting upset and you're just pushing into fight or flight. So that was a big part of it, because you could do a lot of these things, but you also have to be careful what you don't do. And so that was a big one. I don't do things I hate. And people will see improvement in that. You'll see this in a lot of like mothers. When I talk a lot of moms, because they feel, the whole household is on them. They have long COVID, but they still have laundry to do. They have dishes to do. They have to make sure their husband gets fed. The kids get fed. And so that's a big one. When I talk to moms, they feel guilt when they stop. But I have to do laundry. And I'm like, well, what if that's the thing keeping you here? And they'll stop doing it. They're like, oh my God, I feel so much better. My symptoms are. And so that's a big part. So I don't want to underestimate that. Yes, the practicality of the breathing, laughing yoga, somatic meditation, happy music, karaoke, singing, doing things that bring you joy just for the pure enjoyment of it, smiling, social dates, and making sure you don't do things you hate.
Hmm. In terms of the actual physical, say some number 1 and 2, the physical breathing, what does that look like? Is that like deep breath in, long breath out, or there's specific times and seconds you hold and things? Yeah.
Okay, so for the breathing, your exhale should be the longest. So you should breathe in, fill the lungs as much as you can, pause for as long as you can, breathe out, purse lips, slow. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, purse lips. And you repeat that. Everybody has their own rhythm. So me and you, we have different lung sizes, different capacity. This exercise is not to increase lung capacity. Because a lot of people say, oh, but Rob, you said you can do 12 seconds. I can only do 8. Should I be getting better? No, you should not. If you talk to Michael Phelps, he can do 30. So it's not about that. It's not about lung capacity. When I was new to this, my lungs and my body was so tense. from long COVID, I could only do, I think it was so minuscule the time I can breathe out, but I just kept doing it and doing it. So that's what you want to do. You want to pause, you want to exhale, and you want to make sure when you're doing this that you feel comfortable. You're not trying to hold your breath to beat a record. You just hold a breath to remind your nervous system, hey, I'm safe. And you exhale nice and easy. You want it to feel good. You want it to feel calm. So if you feel like you're short in breath, you're doing it wrong, switch it up. Same thing. Exhale still has to be the longest. Still have a pause. Instead of 3-second pause, do a 1-second pause. And it should feel natural. So at first, because our nervous system is so tight, because our fatigue is so severe, I recommend people to have a timer. And so I use an app called iBreathe. I think it's free. And if you don't want ads, it's $4, $5. It's called iBreathe. And I wish I can show you this. That bottom app.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
It's a blue app. And you can just customize it. And you customize it, whatever breathing. And at first your custom times are going to be wrong. It's okay. Just do your breathing. And then when you customize it, you just follow the voice. Breathe in, and you don't have to think. Because my fatigue was so bad that if I tried to breathe on my own, I would hold my breath and just fall asleep. So I needed a timer to keep me, okay, breathe in. And my fatigue, again, is so bad, brain fog, I can't think. Breathe out. Okay, breathe out. And everything felt stiff and tight. And like even the breathing out and it feels smooth. And then you do that for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And you're breathing by the end of the 15 minutes, you feel loose. Everything feels smooth. You're like, oh man, that felt good. And you do that over and over again. That make sense?
Incredible. Yeah, 100%. Thank you for sharing. I'll definitely check out the app. And in terms of the laughing yoga, is that kind of, people think yoga, they think like all the like the different positions and things. Is that part of it, or is it more the comedy and laughing? Yeah.
Okay, so laughing yoga laughing yoga is laughing for no reason at all. So this is not the same as watching a comedy show on Netflix and laughing. Because I was doing a lot of that. And I said, well, why aren't I getting better if I'm laughing a lot? Because I was watching all these different comedians and I was laughing for hours. And I'm like, I'm not, it wasn't bad, but I wasn't really getting better. And with laughing yoga was so powerful that in one session, I would do the sessions in the shower while taking a warm shower. My POTS would get worse with warm showers. So what I started doing is I would do it in the shower. I started doing the laughing yoga and I could take a warm shower without feeling symptoms. So laughing yoga is just laughing for no reason. Now, there are YouTube videos that walk you through it, and that's what I did because it is extremely awkward. And it takes, I think, a lot of self-discipline for you to just make yourself laugh staring at a wall. So I recommend watching it's called Laughing Yoga. You can look it up on YouTube. And there's just videos of people walking you through different laughing exercises. Ha 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 ha. And there's different things they do with their bodies. There's one that they'll do ha 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 ha. And then you put it together. They're just funny childlike exercises.
Yeah.
But they work.
Your poor neighbors must think you're having some kind of episode or something.
I would close all my windows. To make sure nobody heard me.
I used to play music for a living back in the day before I was working in design, what I studied. And on the way to gigs, I would be going like doing all the vocal exercises and things on the way to the gig. And I just remember feeling very like self-conscious, like hope no one's watching me or hearing me through the window while I'm driving because I look ridiculous with my lips busy vibrating. Rob, thank you so much for your time this evening. I think the listeners will love listening to your story and hearing this I call it a very kind of out there theory. I think it's quite a new approach to health and wellness. And but on that note, there's a lot of importance, I believe, in the mental health, the mind, and the power of your thoughts, and like you say, your attitudes, your beliefs, traumas. Those things do have effects on us, and I don't think we always understand how they correlate to different diseases. I know for myself, mental health and depression, anxiety, it's not just fixing it with a pill or going for a run. There's proper brain and mind work and processing hurts and pains and forgiving people, those kind of things. That's important. So I think there's definitely merit in exploring this, and I'm definitely going to try some of these things out on my journey, because I'm still battling 2.5 years later. So yeah, in closing, I'd love for you to just share some encouragement, what you would say to someone that is battling long COVID, vaccine injury, ME/CFS, Lyme disease, something that's a chronic disease that they've been struggling with for a long time. Yeah.
So I think part of that message is try it all. I tell everybody, try it all. If you believe it's the supplements, there's nothing I can say to remove that doubt from your head. I don't believe supplements heal long COVID. But if you believe it does, try it. Then come back to me in 2 months. And if you're healed, good. And if you're not healed, next. Move on to the next one. Meditation. Great. Do that. Next. Poly-vagal. Next. Don't give up. Don't give up. If I gave up and gave up all hope and blocked Raylan's channel on my YouTube, and I'm never going to watch this woman's videos again in my life. These stories are ridiculous. I would not be here. I would not be here, right? Because that's what I really thought about her videos. Even when I was interviewed by her, I told her, I was like, this is ridiculous. And I just said, how is it that she can't be paying hundreds of people. She's not selling supplements. I was like, she's not making money off of this. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And so that's when I gave it a shot. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try this as well. Try it all. So don't give up. Like, if something didn't work, retry it. If that ain't try, go to the next one. Don't give up hope. It's worth where I am today. It's worth everything. If I gave up, I don't know where I would be. I can't. Just remembering the symptoms and the negative thoughts I was having. I'm so happy I'm on this side. My wife sometimes tells me, Rob, I don't know how you didn't give up. Because I coach clients and I had, I talk to YouTube and stuff, and we make research, we get DMs and we try to make videos off the DMs. And we see the people struggling. She's like, Rob, I don't know how you didn't give up. And a lot of people tell me, I'm tired of this. I can't keep going like this. And I'm like, don't give up, because there's a lot of times, there's a lot of days where you give up, right? You say, I'm done trying it all. I'm going to lay on my couch and do nothing. I don't care. I give up. Yeah, that's okay. Give up. But the next day or in a week, get back up. Get back up. Try again. Try something else. Today, I went for a 50-minute walk on a treadmill on an incline. I did some abs exercise at the gym. I rode my bike with my kid. I have a 18-month-old. I went and rode my bike the other day. I went played pickleball. I rock climb. I go running. I get no symptoms at all. Even if I do get a symptom, I know it means there's something, I'm overstressing mentally about something, and the symptoms don't scare me, because I'll just do a breathing and it disappears in 5 minutes. My symptoms, so don't give up. What I learned is your nervous system is it's just signaling to you that something's off. These symptoms are just, for me, I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just, to my understanding, is that your nervous system, when it gives you these symptoms, it's letting you know that you're not living a life of integrity. You're not living a life out of self-love. I didn't want to be a nurse. I became a nurse because of my parents. I hated that job when I was working in the hospital. I'm so happy with the job I have now. It's very low stress, but in the nursing world, I killed my career. But I'm happy because I'm no longer worried about pleasing people. So please, if you're out there and you're struggling with long COVID and you have these symptoms, and these symptoms are telling you that your world is over, every time you feel your symptom, the thoughts behind that symptom is, I will never get better. I will never get better. I remember that. I remember journaling that. I will never get better. I will never get better. Because the journaling exercise was just put your thoughts on. I was like, I will never get better. I hate this. Don't give up. You can't get better. You actually can. I know people, I've helped people get better, so that's why I say it. But I know I'm biased. And people say, Rob, don't be so biased. I heal this way. How can I not be passionate about this? How can I not be? This is how I got my life. If I got my life back by eating an apple, I'd be passionate about apples. My favorite fruit would be an apple. So for people to say, oh, don't be biased, you have survival or bias. Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you mean? I have no bias? I'm sorry. I am biased. That's why people come to me. So don't give up. Whatever it is, if you don't want to believe me, I don't take no offense. I just want you to get better. Try it all, though. Try the supplements. I come to people, I'm like, try it all. And then when they try it all, they come back to me, or they start doing the exercises. They start doing the breathing. They take it more serious. They calm their thoughts. They try to live a life that they're happy with, their lifestyle. They're not stressed about trying to do certain things anymore. So the message I have for everybody out there is that you are worthy to live a good life. You are worthy to live a happy life. You don't need to do anything to be worthy to have a happy, joyful life. And don't give up. Don't believe your symptoms. Your symptoms are lying to you every second. Don't believe them. You got this. I'm testament to it. Watch Raylan's channel. Watch other stories of people that recovered. Listen to what we all say. Maybe you don't believe the Poly-vagal theory. Fine. But don't you notice there's a theme across all of our stories? Relaxing, self-compassion, meditation, breathing. There's something to it. Go down the rabbit hole. Try it. Don't give up. That's my message.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rob. Very, very encouraging story. Yeah, I feel like we could talk for hours, eh?
I enjoyed it. I loved it.
If I had all the money, I'd fly to New York and we could go for a coffee and have a good chat. But like yourself, I totally get it. I'm also battling that tension of the debt cycle, like kind of like working, paying off bills, on your credit card, and working it back, and fighting to keep your job. I'm totally in that space, so I totally get it, and it's a very difficult time. I've even asked my folks, hey, like, can I move back with you for 6 months? And they're not in a financial position, unfortunately, right now to have that like situation. But it's I totally understand like how difficult it must have been going through that. And you talked about maxing out your credit cards and things, I'm not having to do that yet, but it's definitely the financial strain of you can't work as well, so you're not earning as much, but then your medical bills are going up as you're trying this supplement and this blood medication and and doctor's fees and bills. And yeah, it's a really difficult journey, I'd say, for anyone that's battling chronic disease, because like now you need all the money to do all the research and all the tests and all the treatment, but you're also now not working or working less, and yeah, it's incredibly difficult. But on the whole, I really enjoyed the session with you, and thanks again for your time, Rob. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Of course, Chris, anytime.
Yeah.